notation. So we are using the equations in y equals 2x minus 8, right? Okay. Function notation looks like this. It looks like f and then in parentheses x equals 2x minus 8. So all we're doing is we're changing this y into this thing. Okay? And we read this f of x equals, okay? Or in algebra 2, they're going to say the function of x equals. Okay? So all this means is that y is the function of x. Okay, so anything that they tell us to plug in for the f of x, we're plugging in for x. Okay? This whole thing we call the function of x, because x is our variable. Okay? But it's just a fancy way of writing y. Okay, so to evaluate a function, we're just going to substitute that value in for x. Okay, you're good on all your calculators, possibly. Maybe not so much on the first couple problems, but we're going to get to some a little bit more complicated. All right. So this says the function of 5, or f of 5. All that means is this number in parentheses right here, we're going to plug in for x. Okay? So 5 plus 7, well, we get 12. So the f of 5 is 12. That's how we read that. Okay? And all that means is that when we plugged in 5, we got 12. Okay? Nothing real major. Now we put in negative 1. So negative 1 plus 7 is 6. And then we're going negative 3 plus 7 is 4. Okay. We're just plugging these in for our domain. See what we get out of it. Okay, so here, g of x, same thing. Sometimes they use g's, sometimes they use h's. Okay, all the same thing. So now we've got 3 times 1 is minus 8. Negative 5, there you go. And then we have 3 times negative 3 gives us negative 9. Minus 8 is negative 17. And 3 times 0 is 0 minus 8. Negative 8. All right, let's look at one with fraction, because those kind of threw us off a little bit yesterday, right? So we've got 2/3 times negative 3. So plug that into your calculator. What? We got negative 2 minus 1 gives us negative 3. 2/3 times 0? Minus 1? Negative 1. 2/3 times 9? 6. And 6 minus 1? 5. Gives us 5. All right, now we got to talk a little bit about our exponent ones. Okay, what happens if I have x squared and x in here? Right. So I only have one number. I put it in for both. Yep. Okay, so I have negative 4 squared minus -4. So we really have to be careful with this. All right, if you have a graphing calculator, you need to be careful when you square numbers. Okay, it's got to go in parentheses because otherwise it doesn't do order of operations. So -4 squared is going to be +16. Be careful with that because a lot of your graphing calculators are going to give you a -16. Okay, unless you put that -4 in parentheses. Okay, so 16, and then I have a minus, a minus. So that turns into a +4 gives me 20. And so now I've got -1 squared minus a -1. -1 squared is +1. And then a minus a negative gives me a +1 gives me 2. And then we can do 7. 7 squared minus 7, what's 7 squared? Minus 7? What's minus 7?
Oh, minus 7. 40.
42. Yep. What happens if they have a number in front of my x squared? What do I do first? Well, okay, so I've got 3 times -4 squared plus 7. Do I take 3 times -4 and square it? No. Or do I take -4 and square it first? Yeah. I've got to square it first. I have to do my exponent first. So -4 squared is 3 times 16 is 48 plus 7? 55? Okay, then we've got the same thing. 3 times -2 squared. We've got to square it first. So -2 squared is 4 times 3 is 12 plus 7? 19. And then we have 3 times 0 squared plus 7. 0 squared? 0 times 3? 0 plus 7? 7. Woo. All right, we need to also take a look at number 6 because we've got this negative out front here, right? So that's kind of the same as multiplying it by -1. So what happens is I have a negative, and then in parentheses was my -3 squared plus 6 times -3 minus 4. Some of you that don't like to show your work, this is going to not be very pleasant for you if you don't show some of your steps. Okay? Because what am I going to do first? I'm going to take -3 squared and get, I'm going to get 9. Now, this negative sign right here comes down with that 9. So I have 9, but then this negative sign stays in front of it. So I end up with a -9 plus -18 minus 4. So now I can do all my adding and subtracting. I got to take -9 plus -18 minus 4. Why are you pushing buttons? -51. Okay, don't move your answers off of other people. Participate. It's not that difficult to put your finger on some buttons and participate. Otherwise, you get to the assignment and things are difficult for you. Alright? So I have a negative. Where am I plugging in for x? -1. squared plus 6 times -1 minus 4. So -1 squared? 1. And then this negative out front comes with it. So -1 plus -6 minus 4 gives us -11. Well, 6 times -1. Okay? And then 5. -5 squared plus 6 times 5 minus 4. So 5 squared? 25, but then the negative sign comes down with it. So -25 plus, no, 30, positive 30, because it's just positive 6 times positive 5. So plus 30 minus 4 gives us 1. All right, then. One other one we need to look at. Let's look at number 10. Okay, what do these lines mean? Absolute value, yep. So if I'm plugging in 4 for x, so I'm taking the absolute value of 4 minus 4 squared, okay? So 4 minus, what is 4 squared? 16. So now be careful because this is still inside the absolute value. So it's the absolute value of, what's 4 minus 16? -12. But then what's the absolute value of -12? Positive 12. Remember those absolute value signs makes your final answer positive because we're talking about a distance. Okay? Anytime we're talking about absolute value, we're talking about the distance -12 is from 0. So it's 12 away from 0. Okay? So if we're doing -7 right here, so the absolute value of -7 minus -7 squared, and the absolute value of -7 minus, what's -7 squared? 49. So -7 minus 49? -56. But what's the absolute value of -56? Positive 56 is what my answer is going to end up being. Who's confused by that? A little bit? Okay. Basically, you're doing the problem just normal. Okay. And then at the end, anything inside those two lines switches to positive. If it's already positive, it stays positive. Okay. It's always going to be positive. Whatever ends up being inside there. Yep. Okay. All right, and then we just have to look at the graph that's on the bottom of your page. Okay. These numbers stand for what? What am I plugging these numbers in for? X. Okay. This whole time, guys, that we've been doing this, we've been plugging these numbers in for what? X. Those numbers stand for X. So, if I have a graph and it's asking me what is the function of -4, okay, I have to find where X is -4. So on my X, I'm going over, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And what is Y right there? 2. So where X is -4, my Y is 2. Okay, so now I have to find where X is 0. So X is 0 right here. What is Y? 0. Now I'm finding where X is 2. So X is 2 here. Y is -2. then where x is 5, y is